today, so you want me to introduce myself first?
Go ahead and introduce yourself and just entertain them now. Katie,
Cool. Cool. So my name is Katie Turner. I am an astrologer, spiritual astrologer, intuitive. I use kind of my psychic, intuitive, and other senses when I do the readings that I do and the work with astrology I do. I'm also an energy coach. So I like to help people shift energy and shift perspective and kind of get them going in the right direction. And today we're going to talk a little bit about the moon and the sun, or the seasons, like Taurus season. We're in Taurus season right now, and how they kind of play together and how you can use them to really kind of create what you want to create with your life, and how you can use them with intention, and how being aware of what energy we're in can help you move through things. If you're doing something hard with more ease, it can help you be supported. We're going to do a couple of card pulls with some of the moon phases with Yvette, so that you guys have some supporting flowers that can help you move through some of these energies, or any of the flowers that you have that come to mind that are not a card pull necessarily. But to kind of get started, we're in Taurus season. Hello. So we are in Taurus season, and the season is when the sun is in a sign, and it's kind of like a theme of the month. For 30 days, we're focused on bringing in energy and building energy around whatever sign we're currently in. So Taurus energy is earth. It is fixed, it's feminine. So it's all about practicality and stability, and self-worth. It's pleasure. It's building something good. It's kind of like this beautiful garden that you want to grow, which is perfect for the flower energy. It's something that you want to stand the test of time. You want it to be strong and supportive and feel good, and it is about something that you build for yourself. So right now we're all kind of collectively working on this theme of self-worth, of the garden we're growing, what we want to grow in that garden. Now the moon is what we're going to talk about today. While the sun in a season lasts for 30 days, the moon goes through all 12 seasons or signs in that 30-day span. And so the movement of the moon through the signs as we're in the Taurus season kind of is how we go about nurturing and bringing those Taurus themes into life. So as we're focusing right now on self-worth, self-esteem, building a solid footing for ourselves, Taurus also rules money and finances, which has been a big conversation for a lot of people as well. As we're working on building those energies in, we can tune into the moon and where we are in the moon cycle to kind of go about doing those things. And so there's a couple moon phases. We have like the new moon, where the sun and the moon are in the same sign. And this is when we plant our seeds. So when we're looking at Taurus energy and what we want to kind of grow, it's important to kind of plant the seeds of what we want to grow. We have to plant the seeds in order to have the flowers. You know, they don't just grow on their own, unless nature puts the seeds there, which happens too. But we have to kind of set our intentions. And so the new moon was on May 4th. And that was a good time for us to really sit with what we value. Taurus energy is slow and steady. It's not something that's going to jump into anything without a lot of forethought and consideration about what it values and what's important to it. And so this new moon was kind of a time for us to decide what we want to bring into being, what we kind of want to make happen. If you did not use the new moon that way, that's okay. Your soul probably still kind of pulled you in that direction, whether or not you knew you were doing it or not. But even right now, kind of think about, what do you value? What intentions do you want to bring into the world? What do you want to do with this Taurus energy? Because if we're here and we're focused on building a solid structure of practicality and things that make us feel good and make us feel like capable and confident in ourselves and our value, then what right now do you want to set intentions with that? Like for me, for example, my business is a big one for that. It's important for me to know my self-worth. And it's easy for me because of my childhood to think I'm not worthy. And so for me, that's kind of something I set my intention for, was how can I build self-worth around my business and how I show up in my business. And so that's kind of the new moon phase. We set those intentions. The opposite. Go ahead.
How long does the new moon phase last? So if you didn't do it on that actual day, how many more days after could you, if you said, oh, I forgot to do my ritual for the new moon, how many days after that you have still in that energy?
So a sign will stay, or the moon will stay in one sign for 2.5 days, but with new moon energies and full moon energies, I give it about a week, maybe like 3 or 4 days before, 3 or 4 days after.
Okay.
is kind of a good golden time to make things happen. However, at any point in time, you can kind of harness the energy if you wanted to. You don't have to wait necessarily for new moons, but you can, and they're more conducive for the energy. But also too, you know, we have our own birth chart, so we have our own stuff going on astrologically. So if it's not happening in transits and universal for everybody, it may be personal for you. Also too, I know you said you like have been working on planting by like the moon and the
Yeah,
phases.
the phases of the moon, I've started to learn how to, I've been working on planting by the moon. So the new moon, I've got, it's the waning moon. Well, I've got the new moon and then there's another stage and another stage. But I do recall last year I managed to plant something and I was excited because I checked out the phases of the moon and it was at the new moon and that's when there's a lot of water. There's more water going into the planet,
Mm-hmm.
but into the earth, which is great when you're just planting seeds or something like that.
Oh yeah. And like back in the day when we used to really focus on like the Farmer's Almanac, it incorporated moon signs and moon phases because that actually legitimately does influence growth and planting in our gardens. And back when we were dependent exclusively on, you know, gardening for ourselves, that was a big thing. There's also been some studies done that show that planting under a Cancer moon grows the most auspicious plants as well. We just got out of a Cancer moon. The moon turned into Leo 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is probably about 4 hours ago.
Okay.
So we were in Cancer moon, which is a good energy to plant things, but also 2 new moons as well. But right now we're in Leo, which I'll talk about it a little bit. So we go from the new moon though, and the opposite of that is the full moon, when the moon and the sun are opposite each other. And that's when we harvest what we have grown. The new moon is like conception and planting seeds. The full moon is, okay, we're pregnant, the moon is full, we're able to collect and harvest and celebrate. Thinking about too, when the moon is bright and full, it lights up the whole entire night. New moons back, especially before we had electricity, if we didn't have light at night, we would have to go in. We'd have to protect ourselves and, you know, turn in for the night early. But when there's a full moon, it's easier to stay out and party and have fun and celebrate. And so there's a more community vibe with the full moon. We're more present, we're more seen out in the world. But it's also this harvesting energy. It's the celebration of all those new moon seeds you planted. We're going to have a full moon in Scorpio on May 18th. And Scorpio energy is the opposite of Taurus. So Taurus is building something solid and committed and strong and feels good. Scorpio is removing what no longer serves. It is pulling the weeds and releasing things and letting things go. It rules death. Where Taurus rules life, Scorpio rules death, and not necessarily always literal, but sometimes it's like metaphorical, the transformation of death energy. When we let go of an old self and are reborn, you know. So as we focus on the new moon intentions around planting our seeds and what we value and what we want to grow, the flip side of that is, okay, we're also releasing a lot of really juicy, good stuff. And so with this full moon, it may not always feel so juicy and good. It may feel hard, you may cry, you may release some emotions, but ultimately it's to allow what you're growing to grow. It's to support that growth. You don't want a plant that's going to choke out what you're trying to grow in your garden. You're going to want to remove that weed from your garden. And so this is kind of the Scorpio energy of letting things go that no longer serve. Scorpio also rules intimacy, and it rules working with other people and connection and creating with other people. Taurus is self-worth and what I can create on my own. And so through planting our seeds and, you know, working on what we bring to the table, we also open up the door for connection with other people and connection and working with other people. And that's kind of what the full moon will be about as well. Last month, we had the full moon in Libra in Aries season, which Aries is all about independence. Libra is about partnerships. So we kind of had this moment of celebration of all the relationships in your life, even when we're focusing on the self. So this time too, it's okay, we're focusing on self-worth and kind of giving some stock to who we are, but also too, we get to celebrate the people who appreciate us and people who get to see us and all of that, and who get to kind of enjoy who we are in those kind of energies. I do want to kind of, or go ahead.
Sorry, just backing up on the full moon thing. So if the full moon is in a certain sign, is there a different kind of way that you need to release things? Because I understand new moons, like you sort of, like you say, plant a seed, you get a new idea. And on the full moon, I just know that you just release everything. So I would, you know, I don't want this anymore. You know, you sort of go through this of what you want to have anymore. So if it's in a different sign, is there more where you should be doing something or concentrating on a different thing that you want to release, or, you know, different aspects of what you want to release?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's where learning about the signs can be really helpful, because each full moon will be in a different sign and there's different elements to it. So next month we'll have a full moon in Sagittarius, which this month Scorpio is very released. It's pulling the weeds. It's kind of transformational. There may be some inner power stuff going on. There's some sacral chakra energy, you know, it's very intense. Next month, though, in Sagittarius, it's about adventure and learning and what else is out there, and, you know, the higher truth and higher perspective. And so there's going to be release around belief systems and your ability to trust the vision and trust the path that's unfolding for you, even if you can't always see it, or even if you're not there yet. So the full moon phase really does affect what you're celebrating, what you're culminating, and what you're harvesting, and what you're letting go of. Because after the full moon, we have to start moving back down to the new moon. So we celebrate and then we start turning inward. We start releasing immediately after that full moon, which is where the other two phases come into play. So we have the first quarter and the third quarter. The first quarter is halfway between the new moon and the full moon. So we have to have a turning point between planting seeds and celebrating a harvest, because you don't just plant seeds and the next day they grow. Those seeds have to break out of their shell. They have to break through the soil. They have to kind of grow after they reach the soil. And like, there's more to it than just plant seeds, harvest. And so the first quarter moon is when we kind of have to push ourselves to break past our limits and our barriers and push ourselves past the soil. We're in that right now. We're in that with Leo energy. And so a big turning point for us is because we're trying to go celebrate all that we have created and connection to ourselves and our ability to release things. You know, we're planting these seeds of self-worth. So right now, the turning point is Leo energy, which Leo is all about heart. It's all about the moment. It's all about the self and love and confidence. Like Leos, they like are the first person to, you know, light up the room. They're going to be the ones who are going to talk and who are going to shine their light, and who oftentimes too, it's really funny that when someone asks me, like at a party or a social situation, you know, can you tell me a little about myself? They always have a Leo placement in them, because that's Leo. It likes the light, it likes the attention, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's ruled by the sun. The sun is the center of our solar system. If planets didn't revolve around Leo, we wouldn't exist. So Leo needs that energy.
Leos have a thing of attracting people, because
exactly, and they give off light. They give off joy and happiness and fun and creativity. And one of the shadow sides of Leo, though, is the need to love yourself. Because if you are dependent on the confirmation of other people, oh, if I don't have people who like me, then I'm not worthy of being loved, then you're going to have a problem. And so it is important to kind of love yourself first. The sun, you know, doesn't need something to give it light. It supports its light itself. And so with this Leo energy right now in this first quarter moon, as we're kind of pushing past the soil, letting what we're trying to grow break free and break into the air so it can actually grow and bloom, we need to tend to our ego, our hearts, our inner happiness, our creative self. When I say ego too, it's not necessarily like, oh, give in to ego energies, but if your ego is speaking to you, if it's insecure, if it's afraid, let's listen to it. Like, let's tend to the ego and say, okay, what are you trying to tell me, and how can I nurture you? How can I give you a hug? How can I give you what you need? Because the moon is nurturance. It is this, you know, we're nurturing as we move through. And so this is a really important time to give yourself, you know, confidence boost, even if you're struggling with it. Like, can you allow yourself to feel good for how far you've come? Can you allow yourself to feel good for how far you're going to go? Can you allow yourself to trust your creative process? Because sometimes we're not always in full creation mode. Sometimes we are. Can you trust wherever you're at in your process? Can you allow yourself to enjoy the moment for what it is? Can you just enjoy? Even if it's difficult, and especially if it's difficult, like, can you just soothe the self in a fun and happy and joyful way? And so, like Yvette, you know, you said you had a headache today. So for you, it'd be like, how can you honor maybe needing a break or taking some time for yourself to kind of address that and soothe that? For me, I was having some emotional stuff come up last night around, like, am I on the right path? Am I doing the right thing? And so for me, it's going to be about, yes, you're on the right path. You're shining your light. You know, you are tuning in, you're following your guidance. So trust that energy. So then the opposite will be the third quarter moon, which is when the halfway point between the full moon and the new moon. So that's going from new, planting seeds, to harvest. You know, we're breaking through the soil. The other one, though, is we're going from harvest down to the new moon, to planting your seeds. So the day you collect your flowers or your crops or whatever it is you're working on is not the same day you're going to plant your new seeds. You have to wait some time. You have to toil. What is it called when you like turn the soil and maybe put some fertilizer in there, and you have to do some work to kind of get the soil ready. You have to start turning inward and going within. So that third quarter moon is kind of that halfway point between party and let's go in, let's turn in. And so we've already had the third quarter moon for the Taurus season. And so our next third quarter moon will be when we're in Gemini season, which Gemini season focuses on communication, the mindset and learning. And third quarter moon will be in Pisces. So it will be about spirituality. How do we turn inward and really make sure our spirituality is going to be or our belief systems or our subconscious is the fertile soil to grow the mindset we want to have, or to communicate in the way we want to communicate, to enjoy the relationships and connections that we want to connect to. So I think it'd be really cool to kind of pull some cards for the first quarter moon we're in right now, and the full moon, if that's something that works with you, Yvette, to kind of see what energies would be really, really good to help people with that creative energy right now, and maybe pushing through with confidence if they're struggling, or finding happiness, or whatever it is that this Leo moon needs for them. And then the Scorpio moon too, releasing and trusting and surrendering and flow and intimacy and all that good juicy stuff.
Right. So the first card we'll do will be for the current moon we're in now, which is the Leo.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So, right, let's see how we get. So we have the Camellia, which is this little one here.
I love it.
So I'm going to read this. I'll just pop my glasses on to read this because it's dark in here. So the Camellia is, you are lovable and love who you are as your greatest, perfectly. Everything about your true self is beautiful. And the message I'm getting with the Camellia, so this is what you're saying about Leos need to love themselves first. Mm-hmm. So this is the message for everybody, is that it's like not to follow the ways of everyone else. Mm-hmm. Don't get wrapped up in how everyone else is, their parents, how they're looking, if you think they're looking better than you. It's almost like we're all individuals, we're all unique people to ourselves. So it's just love, I'll just show everyone this card here again. It's just loving who you are. So it's being loving in the skin that you're in. So this is the energy that we need to move forward with until the moon,
the full moon. So the moon will move out of Leo in a day or so. So it's not going to be in Leo for too long, but just like we can feel the full moon energy or the new moon energy for a couple of days before and after, the same thing is here. This is the energy that it's good to integrate it and move forward with it and kind of allow it to be a building block in what you're working on.
So this is Amelia.
I love it.
This is it. You've got to be loving yourself. So it's like a lot of pampering going on and self-love and nourishing yourself. So after this video we're doing here, my self-love is going to rest my head.
Yes.
It finally goes. It has gone a bit. So that's the self-love for anyone who's watching, for where we're at now. Put that energy, get lots of rest, love each other, love yourself. And do you want me to pull one for coming moon?
Yeah, I think the Scorpio moon, which is May 18th, is when that happens. I think it's that's Eastern Standard Time, so it will be so it should still be, actually I don't know if it's gonna be the 18th for your time zone. I don't know. It's gonna be 5:11, so I think it's gonna be about 10 p.m. on the 18th for everybody in the UK.
So from Scorpio moon, we've got the orange lily.
Mm-hmm.
So the orange lily has the message of uplift your thoughts. So it says focus your attention on the many blessings that surround you. By doing so, you get lots of you let go of depression, poor self-esteem, and excess weight. So with the orange lily, the message on there is to keep your thoughts positive. So it's like overall negative thoughts. Don't your thoughts create your outcomes, right? So it's like let go of all negative thoughts, keep your thoughts positive, uplift yourself.
Mhm.
You can go out and get some orange lilies. This is a great reminder for you.
I love
Um,
it. That's
and
perfect.
it's when you do all of that, as it says here, it will uplift, it will get rid of your feelings of depression.
Mhm.
This card often comes up for people with low self-esteem, and it's kind of, some people have got it combined with a weight issue. And it's not
Mhm.
that you're really overweight, it's just that you want to shift
Mhm.
some. Not, it's almost what I get is like heavy weight, no negative thoughts that are on your mind, and things like that. So it's not all necessarily go out and exercise to death or things like that. But it's just uplift your thoughts, get rid of all negative energies around you, get
Yeah.
negative thoughts and patterns, and move forward. That's the
Which is, it's
way.
perfect for Scorpio because we're in the Taurus energy, which is self-esteem. And you talked about self-esteem. And it's like this card that kind of, or this flower that encourages you to release things to help support that self-esteem. That is what Scorpio is here for, is releasing things that no longer serve us, letting
Right.
go of the weight we carry, whether it's energetic or physical or literal or whatever. Also too, Scorpio is totally a sacral chakra energy, and orange is a perfect color for the
Yeah.
sacral chakra and for Scorpio energies. That's really perfect as well. And then the energy of like the positive thoughts. That's key because Scorpio can get kind of obsessive in nature. And because it rules something as heavy as death and transformation and healing, you know, all of like the pain we go through, trauma, hurts, that falls under Scorpio territory, as well as healing and recovering from those traumas and reclaiming ourselves and our power and finding empowerment and our psychic gifts and healing. You know, there's a lot good comes from it, but a lot of it is that heavier energy. And so having right now, especially because there's an energetic worry about, I think, people being able to make enough money or support themselves or whatever the future brings. You know, there is a little bit of uncertainty happening right now. And the positive thoughts, being able to kind of keep yourself focused on the higher energy is going to be super important during this full moon, because it's going to be very easy, if you wanted to slip into that depression if you wanted to, and slip into the heavier thoughts, which again, we don't usually want to do that. But the fact that it's a good flower to kind of keep you in your mindset focused on something positive, that's a really important thing as
A
well.
heavy moon. You know,
Yeah,
sometimes you get through the moons and it just feels really, really heavy.
exactly.
It's
And
like
that's why I kind of want to talk about this moon, because it is a heavier moon. And knowing that and knowing how to move through it and knowing what will support you can allow you to utilize it and release it, because it's needed. You know, it's spring cleaning in a sense. It's this release point. You have to let go of what no longer serves in order to make room for what you want. And that can be a heavy process because sometimes we're still attached to what no longer serves. We don't like change, or we you know, maybe don't completely allow ourselves to see all the red flags, something's a bad situation, because we want to kind of, there's something about it we do like, we do want. And so this is a time to let that go and focus on the good stuff and the relationships that make you feel good, and reflect your self-worth, like the ones that really do honor your self-worth. And that is big, is self-esteem and self-worth in this time, because
good to know
we
that.
we get to know how worthy we are, whatever it is we're doing, whatever it is we're making happen. Because to kind of put that in perspective, Aries is the beginning of the astrology new year, and that was last month, which is all about new beginnings. So Taurus is a little bit slow and steady, like let's commit to the new beginnings that really matter to us, like let's put value behind the ones that are super important we want to continue forward. But also too, in the same vein, it's like, know that you're worthy of moving forward with what you want to move forward. Whatever it is that you're bringing into being, you're worthy of doing that. You're worthy of commitment and the long haul for something that matters to you, something that you value. Like that is important for you and good to do. So,
That's interesting. That makes it's good to know what you need to be focusing on. I know when it comes to the full moon, you know, people just write down and let go of everything. You know, you look rich, burn it, and write it and burn it. But it's good to know what the energy is actually going to be like. So
yeah,
it's good to take notice of what sign it's in, to know what different emotions you feel. Sometimes
exactly.
you feel the heavy one. So would it be more that? So you said it's a Sagittarius
Next.
next month. So if for the people who are Sagittarius, are they going to really feel that effect on that full moon?
Yeah, you definitely do feel like if there's a full moon in your sign or a new moon in your sign, it's going to be very much in sync with your energy. It's going to be very in tune with your vibrations. And so it's a good time to, it's almost like a special occasion where like, okay, the full moon where it's in your sign, or the new moon, give it yourself a little extra time. Maybe make it a little bit more of a intention-filled moment. But also too, full moons, it's harvest. If you have a harvest where you shine your light, because that's what your sign is, it's where you shine your light, it's what your heart is, it's who you are at your core. If there's celebration going on in your energy of who you are at your heart, enjoy it. Allow yourself to kind of enjoy that moment. So if you're a Scorpio sun, you know, enjoy the harvest of intimacy and connection with other people. If you're a Taurus, you might have to kind of, if you're the opposite sign, then you have to kind of balance energy out. So Tauruses maybe are gonna really benefit from allowing other people to show them something, allow themselves to receive from the relationships in their lives, and allow the partnership to kind of really sing. Even if you're not in a romantic relationship, you know, there's friendships, there's business partners, there's employees, coworkers, there's animals and pets, like there's so much there that you can kind of look at. Also too, you talk about the list and what you want to release. For Scorpio, emotional imprints that kind of came from past relationships will be a good thing to target as well. So anything where maybe you are still suffering from, or not suffering, maybe that's this word, if you're still dealing with grief or guilt or hurt or trauma from an abusive relationship or a healthy relationship that just ended, or someone who passed, this is a good time to kind of move any energy and clear any energy, because Scorpio does deal with the psychology, which is why we think or why we behave the way we do, that we inherited from the relationships we went into. And so if you were in a relationship when you were in your early 20s and the person was abusive and made you feel like you were dumb and didn't have a voice and made you feel stupid, you know, are you dealing with some of those themes now? And can you maybe release some of those themes and really trust that, you know, what you have to bring to the table, what you have to say is valuable. So tuning into that is going to be big as well. So this is really this is a big energy. And also too, it's a fixed sign energy. So there's 3 different types of energies. There's cardinal, which is go-getting and self-starting. There's fixed, which is stubborn and strong and just it is what it is. And then mutable, which is go with the flow. The fixed ones can be kind of intense because it is what it is. It's stubborn energy. We're in the fixed energy now. And so it's a very present, a very real, kind of slows the energy down. We're really feeling it. We're really in the moment.
This is the energy when everyone says, I've been crying all day and don't know why. And this is why, because the energy is at this moment.
Exactly. And you are a Leo too. So the moon is nurturing right now your heart. So when the moon is in the sign that your sign is in, this is a great time to nurture the self and to tend to the self, because the moon is like the inner mother. And so you can just, it's a good time to mother yourself. It's a good time to get a hug, to whatever it is you'd want from, you know, a mother figure. It's a good time to receive that and allow yourself to have that. So it's a good time.
It's from the heart, because I'm drawn to my kyanite today. So that makes sense. That all makes sense. So what do, there's this, when your birth month has arrived, and so this is your sign, so you're Taurus for the month of May, what does that do for you? Do you have it, is it like you get an extra boost of energy or something? I suppose you do, because you're excited because it's your birthday, isn't it, really?
There's an extra boost of energy. There's also something called a solar return. And so when the sun returns to where it was when you were born, you can get a whole reading based on the chart that's on up in that moment, like what your year ahead will be like. But it's essentially like a personal new year. It's a personal January 1st. Where do you want to go for the next year? So it's a great time if you're in your own season to, if it's not your birthday yet, maybe reflect a little bit on the past year, where you've been, what you've gone through, what you liked, what you didn't like, where you would change things, shift things, embrace things, whatever it is, you know, reflect on it and kind of sit with it. Just like we do in December, we reflect on our year, we come up with New Year's resolutions, what we would like to do the next year instead. Give yourself
your new year.
Yeah, exactly. It's your personal new year. Yep. So do all that, and then once it's your birthday, moving forward, start acting on those new beginnings. Start putting them into action. Start acting on what you want to do, and then from there you'll commit to it, ground in it, and move it forward with as time passes. But yeah, it's like a personal new year, and whatever the planets are in at that moment are kind of like what you're going to be moving through this year. And so
Oh,
if it happens, your birthday happens, or your solar return, because it's not always on your exact birthday, but when the sun returns where it was when you're born and the moon is in Leo, then you're going to be focusing this year on happiness and fun and nurturing your inner child and the creative in yourself. But if you had a moon in Capricorn, it would be about working hard and, building something, and maybe really disciplined and future oriented, and, maybe you have to really strive to take care of things.
oh, sorry, do you have a question? Do you want to unmute her?
Yep, you're unmuted.
Okay, hi. This is my birth month. I had a birthday last Sunday. Yeah. So how can I tell what moon I was actually born in?
Okay, so you can go to, I use astro.com, is the site I use to draw up my birth chart. And it's a website where you can draw up any charts you want to. If you go under like free horoscope, natal chart ascendant is the option. Here, let me see if I can. From there, you can create a chart. You can go as a guest or create your own account, but you put in your birth information. You put the day you were born, the time if you know it, the year, the city, and your name, and it draws up a chart. From there, there'll be a little moon symbol that tells you your moon. So let me actually see if I can share my screen and show you guys what I'm talking about. So this, can you guys see my birth chart?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is my birth chart. So this is on astro.com, which you just go to free horoscopes and then natal chart ascendant. I'm logged in, so it pulled up my birth chart. But if you're not logged in, it'll give you an option to make an account or go continue as a guest. For now, you can keep as a guest, and in the future, you can make your own account if you want to. But just put your information in and then draw the chart. Once you get that, there's a table over here on the side that has all your planets in it, because we have a sign for every planet. Because were in somewhere in the sky when we were born, and they all mean something different. So the sun is your heart, the moon is your emotions, Mercury is your mind, Venus love, Mars energy, so on and so on. So this table tells you what sign each of your planets are in. So the sun, for me, I'm a Pisces sun. Underneath that is moon, and mine is Sagittarius. So you will see on that little table where your moon sign is. If you don't have your exact time of birth, it's possible that your moon changes signs throughout the day, because it changes every 2.5 days. So it is important, if you can, to get as accurate as possible on that. If not, be aware that maybe you have 1 or 2 different moon signs, and maybe if you draw up your chart for your birthday at 12:01 a.m. and draw up your birth chart for your birthday at 11:59 p.m. and see if the moon signs change. If so, read both descriptions and see if you resonate with one more than the other, is what I would recommend doing. So like for me, the moon may be in Capricorn later that night, but because I was born at 2 p.m., it's in Sagittarius. So I could read, if I didn't know what time I was born, I could read both Capricorn and Sagittarius and see which one resonates most with me. I have a lot of Capricorn energy, but emotionally, I am a Sagittarius. And so that kind of, okay. So does that make sense? And have you able to look up that website?
Yeah.
Or?
Yeah, thank you.
Of course. What was your moon sign?
Ruth, did you see your moon sign?
No, I couldn't see it.
All right,
It's too small.
Okay.
Oh,
You want me to look it up for you? Your moon's actually most definitely going to be Capricorn, because it's smack dab in the middle. So there's no way your moon is a different sign besides Capricorn. It is Capricorn. And Capricorn moons are, you like to make sure you're working. You like to be driven. You like to be working towards things and always, working and taking care of your future. If you're not feeling secure tomorrow, you're not happy. Like that is where your emotions really thrive, is in the office, in the career path, like driving something big, something that is a long-term project you're really passionate about. That is what is important for you. You might be someone who maybe doesn't always experience emotions in a very emotional, straightforward way, but when you practically need to deal with them, you're going to deal with them and you're going to move forward. Mm-hmm. So that is the moon energy. But yeah, so and it's really cool to look at your different signs. And I actually too, I think this might be a good time, Yvette, to talk about the zodiac sign in the flower workshop, because we're going to put together in, I believe, late June, a workshop working with the zodiac signs and the flowers. And so that is an opportunity where if you wanted to explore your moon sign or your Venus sign or your Mars sign, not just your birth sign, you can listen to the different flower options for all of those and kind of create maybe a bouquet of you, because we have multiple signs in us. So maybe pick the planets that are perfect for you. So like I'm Pisces, Capricorn, and Sagittarius are kind of my big three. And so if I get flowers that are good for those energies, it's a bouquet that's explicitly just for me in my chart. Do you want to talk any more about that? Because I know that was just a little bit.
That's quite a bit of it. So that's what we were doing in the workshop. It's letting you know what your sign is, your birth signs are. But Katie will be explaining more and going into depth about your birth sign, so you get more of a characteristic of what your character is about. And that will be incorporated with what flowers are associated with that birth sign, so you'll be able to work with those flowers during your birth month. And then you get a bit more understanding of kind of the emotions that you're going through at that particular moment. And as we you're in my group and you've been working with me, you know that you're drawn to certain flowers, and you could be thinking of a rose, but you actually go in the shop and you pick up a lily, and that is literally because flowers they catch your attention because they've got a message for you and what you should be working with. So when you've got a choice of, this is my birth month and I'm kind of feeling a bit, maybe just say for example you're feeling a bit low, you go into the shop and you can just stand there for a bit and just see what flower you are guided to. And it will probably be a flower of your birth month, because it's obviously something you're working on. So with the whole, it's a 3-day course that we're going to be running, and in it, Kate will be speaking about zodiac signs and characteristics and things that you're going through, the energy, the moon, and everything else she's been speaking about today. I'll be bringing in the elements of flowers, and when you leave, you'll be able to work on yourself with knowing what she's taught you and knowing what flowers you can be working with. And also, as you know, the birth month, it sort of links into other parts of the month at the beginning. There's me speaking about you, because I used to think it's just the end, but then yes, you're right, it is the beginning and to the end of the month. So
around
we'll be to other flowers as well. So it's a great thing there. There's going to be some meditations in there. Kate will be doing some channeling. I'll be doing flower cast for you and give you flower readings. So you're going to get all personal stuff. You'll be getting a lot out of it to sort of really get a deeper understanding of yourselves. So that's what we'll be doing towards in June.
I think it'll be really fun. And I think it'll be really cool too that if you come equipped with your moon sign, or we even talk about how to find your moon sign, you can target with your sun. It's about happiness and joy and your light. Your moon is emotions and your security and how you feel on an intuitive level. Or sorry, my cat's saying hi. He was trying to climb up here. But so if you need some emotional support, get a flower for your moon sign. If you need relationship support, get your Venus flower sign. Kind of play around with like what intentions and purposes you have. You can kind of put more into it and get more out of it, which is really cool. But I do agree that like intuitively you're gonna know what you need, and that's a really cool thing as well. Is like just see what you're drawn to. Just like with crystals, you see what you're drawn to. You're always gonna pick what you need in that moment.
Yeah, it's the right thing with the crystals. You get the same thing, don't you? You're drawn to a certain crystal because I'm needing the energy of that crystal. That crystal for you. Yeah.
So someone asked again where to get the birth chart on astro.com. I included it in the chat. You go to free horoscope, and the natal chart ascendant is the menu is free horoscope, and then the sub menu is natal chart ascendant. So that's also there, by the way, if you need that again.
So any more questions from anyone who's in the group? I don't know who's left. I can't see. I can only see up there. I'm just trying to see if my laptop's showing anything. Oh,
I know you did in the kind of pre-talk ask, what is Mercury retrograde? And so,
yes,
if you have a question, go ahead and submit it. Yeah, but in the meantime, so Mercury retrograde. So from the position we are on Earth, the planets don't always go in a full perfect circle. Around the sun they do, but where we are at, they don't. And so occasionally it looks like planets are moving backwards to our sky. And when we first kind of learned astrology, it was back when, we lived under the stars and we didn't have electronics or the phone or any kind of thing, it was just us and the stars. And so we would see these planets moving backwards and kind of notice that when that happened, things were kind of wonky, things would be different. And so Mercury is communication. It is the daily routine and it's organization and structure. And so when it's going backwards for a little bit, it happens about 3 times a year for about 3 weeks. When that happens, it's kind of like we're reworking energy. There can be a lot of miscommunication. There can be a lot of like plans that kind of don't really work the way they need to, some travel delays. And that's because things are just moving backwards. And with the retrogrades, we kind of go with the rework, reanalyze, relook at, reshift energy. So whatever it is that when Mercury retrograde happens, whatever you've been doing for the past 3 weeks, kind of give it some thought, rethink things, and just give yourself more time during those phases, because they are something that, first of all, they've happened before we knew about them. And so if we think, oh no, Mercury's retrograde, it's horrible, you've survived more than one because they've been happening since beginning of time. But so I have cat hair in my eye.
Okay.
He was asleep in the room and I knew he might be a problem towards the end. He's trying to be patient. He knows that like mom's working. But anyways, yeah, so just, giving yourself permission to think things through and not schedule a lot during Mercury retrogrades and kind of just play days by ear is going to be really important. And re-looking at projects you're doing and reworking things it's big. There's kind of this fear of don't sign contracts, don't buy anything, don't leave the house. If you have thought it through, if you put the energy in and really decided that that's what you want, that's what you value, go for it. There's not going to be a punishment from doing something in a retrograde. You don't have to put your life on pause, but it's just an energy time to rework things, relook at things slow down. So slow down with it. And we can benefit from that. Like, in life, we're so quickly, we're so about productivity and action and making things happen. And it's like, okay, if we have to slow down for 3 weeks, maybe we need it. Maybe we need to just take a breather. I know really a good Capricorn moon.
Wrong. So it's going to be a time that we find that we get a lot of issues and probably things aren't working out and we blame ourselves. So it's important to know when Mercury's in retrograde.
Yes, exactly.
When's that due again then? When's Mercury due?
I knew that was a question that's going to happen. I'm going to Google it real quick because I don't remember. I'm working with the calendar for next year right now, but I have not worked with the calendar for this year as detailed. The next one starts July 7th.
July.
Yeah.
So we still got some time to be at peace as well.
Yeah, we just had one recently. I'm trying to remember what sign it was in. Pisces. We just had one in Pisces. So this one will probably be in Cancer because they usually
the sign it's going to make a difference. It's going to make a difference to what kind of madness goes on as well.
Yep. Oh. So the last one was March 5th to 28th in Pisces. Pisces is spirituality. It is basically Pisces energy. It's really hard to define. It kind of dissolves structure and borders and logic and organization and structure, which Mercury loves, but it dissolves all of that. So during that time period, it was a really hard time to communicate things. It was a very intuitive time. You had to really sit there and think and feel energy out in order to communicate what you needed to communicate. This one coming up July 7th through July 31st is going to be in Leo and Cancer. And so it's going to be around happiness and joy and creation and nurturance, the emotional self. So we're going to really have lessons around reworking the way we speak about what we want, what we desire, and what we need and how we want those needs to be met. So this will be a good time that if you, are maybe need to communicate to a partner a personal need, this is a good time to really sit with it and think about how do you want to express yourself? What do you really need to kind of communicate? And then communicate that. Because again, with the Mercury retrograde, the more you think about it, the more you sit down and really decide, the stronger what you have to say is, the more intentful it is, the more you kind of can prepare, like if you know who you're talking to, their trigger points, how they take in information, you can kind of make your communication structured in a way that they will receive it well. So that will be the next retrograde, is to tend to the wants and the desires and the needs and communicating those with ourselves and the world, because it is a both kind of energy. You have to communicate to yourself as well. And sometimes that can be hard. Sometimes it's hard to know what we need.
Right, that sounds like it might be a gentle one to be in if you know that you need to sort of review.
If you don't know, it may be hard because you're like, why can I not express what I need and desire? I'm not getting my needs met, I'm not having my wants met. But if you know it, then you can pause and rework it. And that is I think the benefit of astrology is that we always have these energies and movements going on, but knowing what they are and how we can utilize them is really important. Because if we knew, like right now, you know, we're in that third quarter moon, if we just felt the third quarter moon, not knowing what happens and why we're feeling what we're feeling, you know, and this is kind of some confidence issues or struggling to find happiness or joy. If we just felt that, we might think that there's a huge big problem and that, you know, we're not worthy of being confident, or what we're doing, we're crazy for doing whatever we're doing. But if we know that it's a lesson on a bigger path, we can integrate the lesson and move forward. So it's easier to kind of see the bigger picture and not get hung up by things, and then know also too how to kind of combat and counterbalance, I guess, certain energies. So it's a really cool tool. There's like that's transits, and then you also have it for your personal birth chart as well. So you can look at your own chart and how you work as an individual, and then there's what's going on in the air as well. So it's multifaceted. A lot is there, which I'm trying not to overwhelm with information on astrology.
No, but that's, you know, it's good to know about the Mercury retrograde anyway, because sometimes I pick up that we're in it when I'm like, you know, God, why is this going on? What's going on? And, you know, and then someone goes, we're in Mercury retrograde. And
yeah,
oh.
like technology.
So that all makes sense out to work through it. You don't have to be panicky. You don't have to say, oh, this is why, and let's just forget it. But get about. So it's good. Thank you for that.
Of course.
You covered most of the stuff that you wanted to do. And I thank everyone for joining us, and we apologise again for the bad connection we had in the Facebook group in the live we were trying to do.
Mercury wasn't retrograde though. Can't blame Mercury retrograde for this.
No, just an error. Blame Facebook. That's like permanent Mercury retrograde. But no, thank you very much for joining me, Katie, and going over the different phases of the moon and a bit more into the zodiac signs. I get it a little bit more now, especially the Mercury retrograde. I do understand that now. I'll probably forget it by the time it comes into June again and go, why am I going like this? And perhaps you might put a post to remind everybody, hey, Mercury.
Which is forgetting something and having to relearn it. Perfect Mercury retrograde, because it's learning and communication and knowledge and information, reworking, relearning, redoing. So it's perfect to forget. Like that happens. People always ask the same questions during Mercury retrogrades, but it is what it is. So it works.
Right. I think some people have sort of disappeared, though they're still on. I don't know if anyone's got any other questions. You might want to pop a question up now before we bring it to an end. I can see some screens and disappearances, but we'll call it a day then, shall we?
Sounds good. And then
finally got it going together. Can you see any messages come up? Because I'm not seeing anything.
Nope. I think not. Nope. We're good on chat right now. No one has asked anything.
Okay.
So also we'll take this video and hopefully we can upload it to Facebook or another platform. So if you need to watch it again and you have questions on a replay, we're here as well.
Yeah, definitely. If you have any questions, do put them down in the comments when we post it on the live on the group. So if you've got any questions for Katie or myself, then do put the questions down there and we will get back to you whenever we get a chance to see it. So, thank you again, Katie, and I hope those who joined us had enjoyed what they heard, and anyone who does listen to it, I hope you guys get out of it some great information, because I did, and we'll hopefully do it again soon someday.
Yes.
Really. All right. Thanks, Katie. Bye.